Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you for today's book reading session. Let us begin with prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Reading from Teachings of Lord Chaitanya by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Abhay Charana Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Chapter 1 Teachings to Rupa Goswami. We shall continue to read from where we left last session. A pure devotee accepts transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but does not accept any kinds of liberation for his personal sense gratification. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 29th chapter, verses 10 to 12, as follows. Lord Kapila Deva explains in those verses about the pure nature of devotional service. That as soon as a pure devotee hears the glories and transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart, at once his mind flows towards the Lord, as the water of the Ganges flows down towards the sea. Such spontaneous attraction of the devotee's mind to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the significance of pure devotional service. Devotional service, engagement in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without any cause and without being hampered by any material impediment, is called pure devotion. The pure devotee does not desire to live in the same planet with the personality of Godhead. He does not desire the same opulence as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he does not desire to have the same form as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He does not desire to live along with him side by side, neither does he desire at any time to merge into the existence of the Supreme Person, even if these things are offered by God to the devotee. The thing is that a devotee is so much absorbed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord that he has no time to think of any other benefit beyond his engagement. Just as an ordinary materialistic businessman, when he is absorbed in his business, does not think of any other thing, so a pure devotee, when he is engaged in the pure devotional service of the Lord, does not think of anything beyond that engagement. By these symptoms alone, one can be understood to be elevated to the topmost position of devotional service. And it is with such transcendental loving service alone that one can surpass the influence of Maya and can relish pure love of Godhead. So long as one has the desire for material benefit or for liberation, which are called the two witches of allurement, one cannot relish the taste of transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord. There are three stages of devotional service. The first stage is called the beginner's cultivation stage. and the second is called the realization of the service, and the third, the supreme stage, is called attainment of love of Godhead. There are 9 different methods for cultivating devotional service, such as hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. All these processes are employed in the neophyte stage of cultivation. If one is engaged in the matter of chanting and hearing with devotion and faith, then gradually his material misgivings become vanquished. Gradually, his faith in devotional service increases more and more, and such stages assure him a higher perfectional position. Thus, one becomes firmly fixed, increases the taste for it, becomes attached to it, and feels an ecstasy which is called the preliminary stage of love of Godhead. Attainment of ecstasy is produced by execution of the cultivation of devotional service. Such attainment, when still more developed by that same process of hearing and chanting, gradually becomes thickened and it assumes the name of love of Godhead. In the stage of transcendental love of God, there are further developments which are known as transcendental affection, emotion, ecstasy, and extreme intense attachment. These are technically known as raga, anuraga, bhava, mahabhava. These are technical terms. The process is exemplified by the gradual thickness of sugar candy juice. Sugar candy juice in the first stage is liquid, and when by evaporation it becomes thicker and thicker, it becomes molasses, then granules, then sugar, then rock candy, and so on. These are different stages of the liquid sugar juice, and similarly, there are different stages of the development of transcendental love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one is situated on the transcendental platform, that stage is called steady. Unless one is situated on the transcendental platform, the practice or love of Godhead may not be steady. One may fall down. But when one is situated on the transcendental platform, he becomes steady and there is no fear of falling down. This stage of understanding is technically called Sthayi Bhava. There are still further developments stepping forward from the position of Sthayi Bhava, and these are called Vibhava, Anubhava, Satvik, and Vyabhichari Bhava. When the when these 4 ingredients are a- added to the steadfast position of pure transcendental life, that is called exchange of rasa or transcendental flavor. This exchange of loving reciprocation between the lover and the beloved is generally called Krishna Bhakti Rasa, the transcendental taste of exchanging loving sentiments between the devotee and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we must know that this development of the transcendental loving exchange of flavors stands on the steadfast position of Sthayi Bhava, as explained before. The basic principle of Vibhava is Sthayi Bhava, and the other activities are auxiliary assistance for the development of transcendental love. The ecstasy of transcendental love has 2 components: the context and the cause of the excitement. The context is also divided into 2 parts: the subject and the object. The exchange of devotional service is the subject, and Krishna is the object. And the transcendental qualities of Krishna are the causes of excitement. That means that a devotee becomes excited to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, being enamored by the transcendental qualities of Krishna. The Mayavadi philosophers say that the absolute truth is without specific qualities, and the Vaishnava philosophers say that being without qualities or nirguna means that the absolute truth has no material qualities, but that the spiritual qualities are so great and so enchanting that even liberated persons become attracted by the Supreme Lord. This fact is very nicely explained in the Atma Rama verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who are already situated in self realization are also attracted by the transcendental qualities of Krishna. That means Krishna's qualities are not material, they are pure and simple transcendental qualities. The highest stage of ecstasy can be divided into 13 transcendental activities, which are as follows: 1. Dancing, 2. Rolling on the floor, 3. Singing, 4. Clapping, 5. Bristling of the body, 6. Thundering, 7. Yawning, 8. Breathing, 9. Forgetting social conventions, 10. Throwing down saliva, 11. Laughing, 12. Headache, 13. Coughing. All these 13 symptoms do not awake simultaneously or at once, but they act according to the exchange of transcendental flavor. Sometimes one symptom is prominent, and at other times the other symptom is prominent. Transcendental flavor is also divided into five. Principally, the initial stage is called Shantarati, appreciation of the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by persons who are liberated from the material contamination but not exactly engaged in transcendental loving service. They are on the appreciative neutral stage. The second stage is when a person appreciates that he is everlastingly subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is everlastingly dependent on the causeless mercy of the Supreme Person. At that time, there is an awakening of natural affection as a grown up son becomes attracted with the father's benediction. At that stage, a living entity wants to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead instead of being engaged in the service of Maya, illusion. This stage is called Dasya Rati. The next developed stage of transcendental love is called Sakya Rati. Here, one associates with the Supreme on an equal level with love and respect. That stage is further developed in the matter of joking and in exchange of different relaxations by laughing and so forth. This is called fraternity with the personality of Godhead without any bondage. Practically, at that stage, one forgets his inferior position as a living entity, although he has the greatest respect for the Supreme Person. When the transcendental flavor or taste of fraternity is further developed, it is called Vatsalya Rati, filial affection. At that time, the living entity tries to be the parent of God. Instead of the Lord being worshipped, the living entity, as a parent of the Supreme Person, becomes the object of worship for the Supreme Person. Then the Lord depends on the mercy of such pure devotees. This is called Vatsalya Rati. The Lord puts himself under the control of the devotee for being brought up nicely. Such a devotee attains to the position of embracing the Supreme Personality of Godhead or kissing his head. These are developments of parental filial affection for the Supreme Lord. The next developed stage is called Madhurya Rati, or the transcendental exchange of tastes between the lover and the beloved in conjugal love. At this stage of loving affairs, the damsels of Braja and Krishna glanced over one another in conjugal love. In that stage of transcendental loving service, there is an exchange of glancing and a movement of the eyebrows and an exchange of nice pleasing words and attractive smiling between one another. Besides the five primary reciprocations of flavor, there are seven secondary reciprocations consisting of laughing, wonderful vision, chivalry, pitiableness, anger, ghastliness, and devastation. Bhishma, for example, exchanged with Krishna in the transcendental flavor of chivalry. Hiranyakashipu experienced an exchange of the ghastly and devastating feature of the Supreme Lord. The five primary rasas or flavors constantly remain within the heart of the pure devotee, and the other seven, which are secondary, sometimes appear and disappear and enrich the existing flavors and tastes. After enriching the primary flavors, they disappear. The example of Shanta Bhaktas or Shanta devotees are the nine yogis named Kavi, Havi, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pippalayana, Havirhotra, Dravida or Drumila, Chamasa, and Karabhajana. The four Kumaras, great sages, are Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatkumara, and Sanatana. Examples of devotees in the transcendental mode of servitorship are in the Gokula, Raktaka, Chitraka, Patraka. These are all servants of Krishna. In Dwaraka, there are Daruka, and in the Vaikuntha planets, there is Hanuman and other persons. Devotees in friendship are like Sridhama in Vrindavan and Bhima and Arjuna in Dwaraka or on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So far as those in paternal love with Krishna are concerned, the devotees are his mother, father, uncle, and similar relatives. In conjugal love, the devotees are first the damsels of Vraja, Vrindavan, and the queens and goddesses of fortune in Dwaraka. No one can count how many they are. Attachment for Krishna is also of two kinds. One kind of attachment is with awe and veneration. There is a lack of freedom in such attachments, which are exhibited in Mathura and the Vaikuntha planets. In such abodes of the Lord, the flavor of transcendental loving service is restricted. But in the Gokula, Vrindavan, the exchange of loving is freely done, and the cowherd boys and the damsels of Vrindavan, although they know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, do not show awe and veneration on account of their thick and thin relationship in great intimacy with Him. Out of these five principal transcendental tastes, awe and veneration are sometimes impediments to perceiving the Lord's greatness or in the matter of service to the Lord. But in the matter of friendship and paternal affection, and in conjugal love, such awe and veneration is reduced. For example, when Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, they prayed to the Lord with awe and veneration because they understood that the Supreme Lord Krishna or Vishnu had appeared before them as their little child. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 44th chapter, 51st verse. Devaki and Vasudeva, after knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, began to pray to him, although he was present as their child. Similarly, when Arjuna saw the universal form of the Lord, he was also afraid, and he begged pardon because in his dealings with Krishna as an intimate friend, he had engaged in such unceremonious behavior with him. This is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna prayed, "My dear Krishna, I have sometimes insulted you, calling you my dear friend Krishna, without knowing the greatness of your inconceivable power. Therefore, please forgive me, because I was mad to address you like a common friend or a common man." Similarly, when Lord Krishna was playing jokes on Rukmini, she thought Krishna might leave her, and therefore she was very much afraid and became perturbed. At that time, Rukmini was fanning Krishna, and as soon as she was afraid that Krishna would leave, the fan fell down from her hand, and the hairs on her head became scattered. As a plantain tree falls by a blast of windy air, so she became almost unconscious and fell down. But as far as Yashoda, Krishna's mother in Vrindavan, is concerned, it is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 8th chapter, 36th verse, that the personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by all the Vedas and Upanishads, and the Sankhya system of philosophy, and all such authorized scriptures, that personality of Godhead was accepted as if born in her belly. In the same Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 9th chapter, 12th verse, it is stated that Mother Yashoda bound the boy Krishna with a rope as if he was the son born, or he was the son born of her body, and appeared just like an ordinary child with a material body. Similarly, the description of Krishna's being treated as an ordinary man is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 18th chapter, 24th verse. When he was defeated by his friends, the cowherd boys, Krishna carried Sridham on his shoulders. Similarly, regarding the gopis' dealings with Sri Krishna at Vrindavan, it is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 30th chapter, verses 36 to 38, as follows. When Sri Krishna took away Srimati Radhika along from the group of the Rasa dance, when Sri Krishna took away Srimati Radhika alone from the group of the Rasa dance, at that time Srimati Radhika thought that Krishna had left all other gopis. Although they are equally beautiful, he satisfied her in this way. With pride, she began to say, "My dear Lord Krishna has left the beautiful gopis, and he is satisfied with me alone." She thought like that and felt pride. Addressing Krishna in the forest, she said, "My dear Krishna, I am unable to move any more. Now, if you like, you can take me anywhere as you desire." When Radhika requested Krishna in such a way, Krishna replied, "You'd better come to my shoulder." And as soon as he said this, he disappeared from the scene, on which Srimati Radhika repented very much. When Krishna disappeared from the scene of the rasa dancing, all the gopis began to repent, saying, "My dear Krishna, we have come here leaving aside our husbands, sons, relatives, brothers, and friends. Neglecting their advice, we have come to you, and you know better what is the reason for our coming here. You know that we are captivated by the sweet sound of your flute, and therefore we have come. Oh, you are so cunning that at this dead of night You have left girls and women like us. It is not very good for you. The word shama means controlling the mind and controlling the mind from being diverted in various ways and fixing it up in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And one who is so fixed up in the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated on the Shama platform. On that platform, the devotee understands that Krishna is the basic principle of everything that be within our experience. The same thing is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. After many, many births in the cultivation of knowledge, one surrenders unto Vasudeva because he can understand that Krishna is present in everything, that he is distributed all over the cosmic manifestation. Everything is under the control of the Supreme Lord, and everything, being situated in his energy, is different from Krishna in his personal form. The same thing is explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in which it is said that when intelligence is fixed on Krishna, that is called the quality of Sama. This is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Samo Manishtata Buddhi, that without being elevated to the platform of Shantarati, nobody can be fixed in knowing the greatness of Krishna, the diffusion of his different energies, which are the cause of all manifestation. The same thing is further explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 19th chapter, 33rd verse. Equilibrium of the mind can be achieved by one who has fixed his conclusion on the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the original source of everything, and when one can control his senses, that is called Sama. When one is ready to tolerate all kinds of suffering for controlling the senses and to keep the mind in equilibrium, that is called Titiksha or tolerance. And when one can control the urges of the tongue and the genital, that is called Dhriti. From Dhriti, one becomes Dhira, the pacified. A pacified person is never disturbed by the urges of the tongue and genital. If one can fix up his mind in Krishna without any deviation, such a steadfast position in Krishna consciousness is called Shantarasa. In Shantarasa, two things are visible: unflinching faith in Krishna and cessation from all material desires. The specific qualities of Shantarasa, unflinching faith in Krishna, and withdrawal from all kinds of desires which are not in connection with Krishna, are common factors in all the other rasas as well. Just like sound vibration is generally present in all other elements, namely air, fire, water, and earth, sound vibration is produced from the sky, so this sound is present in all other elements. Similarly, the qualities of Shantarasa, unflinching faith in Krishna, and desirelessness toward anything which is not Krishna, these two qualities are present in other transcendental relationships such as dasya, servitorship, sakhya, French fraternity, vatsalya, paternal affection, and the madhurya rasa, conjugal love. When we speak of non-Krishna, it does not mean that anything exists without Krishna. There cannot be anything non-Krishna because everything is a product of the energy of Krishna. And Krishna and his energies being identical, indirectly everything is Krishna. As an example, consciousness is common to every living entity, but consciousness, when it is purely centered on Krishna, when it is called Krishna consciousness, is pure. And consciousness, when it is other than Krishna consciousness, or consciousness directed at sense gratification, is called non Krishna. So, in the polluted state, the conception of non Krishna comes. But in the pure state, there is nothing but Krishna consciousness. The active interest in Krishna, that Krishna is mine or I am Krishna's, and therefore my business is to satisfy the senses of Krishna, is a higher status than the Shanta Rasa. Simply to understand the greatness of Krishna is to achieve the status of Shanta Rasa, in which the worshipable object is the impersonal Brahman or Paramatma. This activity of worship of the impersonal Brahman and the Paramatma is the field of activities in empiric philosophical speculation and mystic yoga practice. But when one develops still further in Krishna consciousness or spiritual understanding, one appreciates that Paramatma, the Supersoul, is the eternal worshipable object, and he surrenders unto him. Bahunam Janmanam Ante, after many, many births. After many, many births in worship of the Brahman and Paramatma, when one surrenders unto Vasudeva, Paramatma as the Supreme Master, and accepts oneself as eternally the servant of Vasudeva, he becomes a great transcendental realized soul. And at that time, on account of thick and thin relationship with the Supreme Absolute Truth, one begins to render some sort of transcendental loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, the status of Shantarasa, neutrality, transforms into servitorship. It is then called Dasya Rasa. We shall continue to read in the next session. Thank you so much for joining. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Vishwa Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.